Alright guys, here are the 4-9 notes for graphing quadratic inequalities. Oh, there's your EQ. I let you have it right off the bat. But this stuff is very easy, so let's get right on down into it. First thing we need to recall is how to graph inequalities, and that is remembering, hey, solid or dashed lines. So solid lines if it's less than, greater than, or equal to, and dashed lines for those that are not. And do not forget shading. Good old shading is back, so you might as well get some colors and stuff because that's what we're going to use. Now, the reason we're kind of jumping back into graphing is to get you a nice little review of graphing quadratic inequalities, and specifically from standard form, you need to remember the vertex is negative b over 2 times a, meaning, well, let's see, our b value is 0 over 2 times 1. That's going to be 0 for our vertex. And how do you find the y coordinate? You substitute it back in. In our case, that's going to be negative 2. So over 0 down to negative 2. I'm also going to change the scale on these. We'll keep that 2. We'll make these 1s, and then negative 1, negative 2, and so on. So 0 down negative 2. Boom. There's our vertex. Some other points, again, use your calculator to find those, but you do have the points 2, 2, and negative 2, 2. You should be comfortable using your calculator to get those. Over 2, up 2, and over negative 2, up 2. We have a dashed line due to greater than. So that's how we'll connect our points now. Dashed. Whoops. And I don't want the eraser. Okay. And dashed again. And lastly, we need to decide where to shade. And that again is by picking a test point. So you want to test out a point, see if that's where the treasure is. So here is X. Does it mark the spot? That's the point 0, 0. So we're going to check for treasure. Here is 0, 0 where it is. 0 greater than 0 squared minus 2. Well, is 0 greater than negative 2? Yes, it is. That is where we want to search for the treasure. So everywhere in between our nice little graph. Okay, pretty cool there. That's really about the main idea of it. Now, quadratic inequality. This one's another little practice one for you. I'll actually change it here, make it nicer. Make that a 2. So fix that. Okay, you should get a nice graph here. And also, if you want to use the same old units, I'll do that in the extras. But first, let's look at a quadratic system of inequalities, which is really easy peasy. So again, we're going to change this to 2. It makes it nicer for us. And to graph a system of inequalities is really just graphing 2 quadratics. 2 quadratics at once. Oh my gosh. Alright, well, this first one conveniently is the same as our first graph. Alright, so that means we're going to have a vertex at 0, negative 2. We're going to have the points 2, 2, and we're going to have the points negative 2, 2. Okay. Same as the first graph, so really it's the same thing. We're going to change our scale one more time. It just makes it nice for us. And we have our vertex 0, negative 2. Boop. Over 2, up 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, dashed, dashed, and red in between. And the thing with a system is, if you remember graphing systems of absolute values and other graphs, is just graphing the other line. So negative x minus 2x plus 4 if you do negative b over 2a and all that. So finding the vertex, negative b over 2a, all of that should give you negative 1, comma 5. And then some other points on the graph. You get those in your calculator again. You have 0, 4, and we'll see if we can just graph with those. So negative 1 on the x and over 5. So negative 1 here on the x and down 5, 2, 4, 6, 5. Sorry if the scale's throwing you off, but really you'll be okay. And we have the point 0, comma 4, so over 0, down, up 4, 2, 4. And knowing that graphs are always symmetric, we can simply plot this point here. So in blue now, up I'm going to have a solid line because of the equal to. And I do need to decide where to shade. So shading for blue, again, we'll test out 0, 0. Okay, so is negative 0 squared minus 2 times 0 plus 4 greater than or equal to 0? Less than or equal to 0. This is true. So again, I want to shade there. I want to shade everything outside of my lines. Look at that zoom in. Didn't mean to do that. I'll zoom back out in a second. So shading is, again, something you need to be careful with. Now, what are we most concerned about? We really only want the commonly shaded areas. These are our true solutions, or if we look where everything's double shaded, it's in this section here. Okay, so be careful with shading. That's really all there is to it. Graphing two lines at once. That's why I wanted to review graphing with you and everything like that, and shading, and that's really all it is. So certainly P2 is for you to finish up.